Hello everybody, Patrick here, and today I'm going to be going over why I don't really like Wing Chun. Now, in case you're wondering what this video is going to be, it's just going to be me rambling about the different reasons why I don't like it. It's not going to be a in-depth discussion or probably not even cohesive. It's not going to be a list or anything like that. It's just going to be me listing off the things I don't like about it as it comes across to me in my head. If you want a short answer and you don't want to stick around for the whole video, it's because I wasted 5 years of my life on it and I'm bitter. You know, I thought that I was learning practical self-defense when that could not be further from the truth. And I only hate that because that is what it was sold to me as. And if you are under the same idea or being told the same thing, that you are being taught practical self-defense in a real-world application, that is not true. It could not be further from the truth, and that's why I don't like it. So that's the short answer as to why I don't like Wing Chun. If you're already aggravated or satiated by that response, then go ahead. You don't have to watch the rest of this. But if you're interested in why I dislike it after doing it for 5 years, and I'm going to explain why, all the problems I have with it after training in real styles after the fact, then feel free to stick around and hear those. Alright, so first thing I don't like about it, and it's the main thing, is that people claim that it's applicable in real-world defense. And there's only 2 people who anyone can name that do Wing Chun who are also good fighters. Bruce Lee and Ip Man. Normally when you point out fighters who do a style, you can name a lot of examples. You know, I'll even do one that some people still disrespect, and that's karate. Under karate, you have Bas Rutten, GSP, Chuck Liddell. Some people count Conor McGregor in that camp, Lyoto Machida, and those were all just off the top of my head. But with Wing Chun, it's only 2, and it's the same 2 people every time. Now, let's go over Bruce Lee first. Bruce Lee, some people say that he can't fight at all, and that he was just an actor, and that, you know, he actually sucked IRL. And other people will call him literally like the Jesus of martial arts. You know, he was like a fucking deity figure who could do no wrong, and was awesome at everything he did first try, and could like actually punch a hole through like a human's being chest if he really wanted to, if he wanted to unleash anything other than 5% of his true power, which he never did at any point in his life because he knew that he was just too deadly. And you know, the truth about this, much like with most things, is that it lies in the middle. Was Bruce Lee shit? No. Was he a god? Also no. He was a legit fighter, and we have proof of this. You know, he is on record of winning a boxing tournament when he still lived in Hong Kong. And it's like, I don't care, you know, how low of level of other boxers he's faced, you know, to win an entire tournament against other people who are like trying to beat the shit out of you, that's pretty difficult to do. And he won a handful of karate tournaments when he was here in the States. So he's won tournaments, and he's proven that he can fight other people who have trained to fight. You know, he was legitimately good. But there are also people who say, oh yeah, he could totally have beaten Mike Tyson in a fight if they ever chose to fight each other. No, he would get ripped in fucking half. So Wing Chun people always like to point to Bruce Lee and say, that's a guy, that's a Wing Chun guy, he is like one of the Wing Chun guys, and he always beat ass. Thing about Bruce Lee is, yes, Wing Chun is the first style he ever learned, but also if we look at Bruce Lee, specifically the version that people like to deify, I see absolutely no Wing Chun in his style whatsoever. He just fights like a regular kickboxer does. You know, he has very bouncy footwork, sticks to the outside, lots of jabs, lots of lead leg kicks, you know, things of that nature. The only time we see him doing Wing Chun things like hand trapping, being planted, things of that nature, things that are actually Wing Chun, is in movies. We never saw him actually do it in a spar or really in demos too often. So I don't really even like to count Bruce Lee among that Wing Chun camp of people you can point to and be like, oh, look at that. With George St. Pierre or Lyoto Machida, for examples, we could definitely see that their style was karate influences, and they would have used more than a few karate techniques in the octagon. But Bruce Lee, in practical application, I've never seen him actually use Wing Chun. Now let's go on to the second one, Ip Man. If Bruce Lee is the Jesus, Ip Man is the God. You know, people really harp on about Ip Man and how fucking amazing he was. But the thing is whenever, and this applies to every Wing Chun person I ever talk about, whenever people talk about Ip Man, they are referring to Donnie Yen in the movie Ip Man. But they talk as though it was the real Ip Man. Like these were documentaries or biopics. Like, yeah, Ip Man totally beat down like 20 fucking ninjas and then the world heavyweight champion of boxing and all this other shit. Like, I can't tell you a single thing the real Ip Man did because even Wing Chun instructors I talked to referred to the fucking movies. You know, so the only two people that people point out to who were good Wing Chun fighters are practically fictional characters because it's the movie version of Bruce Lee and the movie version of Ip Man. By that logic, you know what the best fighting style on the planet is? The Turtle Hermit School of Fighting, alright? They got Goku, they got Krillin, they got Yamcha. Like, these guys, they can fucking throw fire out of their hands, man. Like, if we're counting movie characters as some of the best fighters IRL, why not just fucking throw in anime? Why not? But so, that's one of the reasons why I don't like it, is because the examples of real fighters who use Wing Chun and are badass are fictional movie characters. Let's go on to the actual techniques of the style and why I don't like them. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up. So first, let's talk about the Wing Chun stance. If you look at any Wing Chun school, how they teach you how to stand or how most of them stand, they stand like this, all right? Get it from a side angle, like this. Now, there are many things that are wrong with standing like this, all right? Thing number one, your legs are 50-50, and most schools, all right, when they teach stance, they want you to stand on the balls of your feet because they want you to be more on your toes so that you can more effectively slip, move around the area that you're given. Wing Chun teaches you to stand more on your heels because it wants you to remain flat-footed like this. Now, here's the problem with this, all right? In most fighting styles, there's sort of a rock, paper, scissors game that's going on with how people stand. I'll use the two extremes of wrestling and Muay Thai. So, in Muay Thai, you're more upright. And the reason you're more upright is because A, this allows you to more effectively throw leg kicks, and B, this more effectively allows you to block leg kicks. But because you're so upright and your hips are more forward, this makes you more susceptible to being taken down. In wrestling, you're far more planted, but your hips are further back. So because you're more planted, you're far more susceptible to being chopped in the legs. Also, you can't really effectively throw kicks off of being so firmly planted. But notice, my hips are further back. This gives me an advantage. If someone were to shoot in on me, I can just sprawl back out on them because my hips are already further back. The Wing Chun stance is like a worst of both worlds scenario that is playing out simultaneously. It is like if you were playing rock, paper, scissors, and you threw out like a limp-wristed hand, all right? You just lose. There's nothing. The scissors will cut it, the rock will smash it, the paper will cover it, no matter what you do. Because I am planted, all right? Which means that I can't block leg kicks, and also leg kicks can chop me down really easily. But also, I'm upright, and my hips are forward, which means I can be taken down really easily. This is just a no-win scenario as far as the stance is concerned. Now, let's move up top. What is going on with my hands? Well, they're not by my face, which means that I can't guard punches that are coming in. Now, that is because in Wing Chun, you largely rely on parries. So you always want to meet to parry the attack, things like that. But the thing is that this makes you really, really susceptible, and I know this because I've done this, to feints, all right? If you literally just whoop like that, a Wing Chun guy will go boom for the parry, and then boom, set up, payoff, perfect, all right? You will fall for it 100% of the time, all right? I've done this to many Wing Chun guys. They always fall for it. So that's part of why it's bad to have your hands out here. Now, if you'll notice, my shoulders are also low, and I don't tuck my head in. Nowhere in a Wing Chun school do they teach you to tuck your chin in, all right? That means if I fuck up and a punch were to come in and loop around here, boom, I get knocked. So this, like everything is just wrong with this stance, which is why I don't like it. Now that we've covered the stance, let's go over the footwork. So Wing Chun footwork, how you're supposed to do it anyway, is you're supposed to use triangles to walk forward. All right, you're supposed to like, boom, come in, boom, go out like that. And some people will switch like this, like that, and like that. So let's get this point blank out of the way. Nobody does this, all right? You see Wing Chun guys, whenever they spar, they don't do this. They just run forward and circle punch, all right? Whenever they are sparring with another person, they don't boom like this, like to chase after them. They go. They like just step forward very, very quickly. They don't do as you are taught to do in the style. But let's even go over this as though they did. Let's pretend that they did do this, all right? And it worked out like it did in reality. Being so bogged down like this is so bad because it means that you can't strafe at a moment's notice. In Wing Chun, so for instance, if I'm like a boxer and I need to get out of the way and strafe in any way possible, like this way or that way, or cut angles, I can move at any angle that I need to move at because I'm up with the balls of my feet and I'm so mobile. All right? Even in wrestling, right? When you're grappling, you're still on the balls of your feet. You're not bouncing, but you're still like very mobile and able to move. All right? In Wing Chun, because of the way that the footwork is, you can't do that. You have to pivot like this. Boom. Boom. It's very unnatural. Not to mention because you're so flat-footed that if the ground is uneven or completely fucked, then you're going to trip yourself. All right? Because other styles teach you to stay on the balls of your feet, you pretty much like circumvent hazardous terrain on the ground if it is uneven or not very solid. Wing Chun kind of relies on the idea that you will be on flat ground for its footwork to work. But its footwork doesn't work as established. Nobody uses it, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. Next, we're going to talk about the big Wing Chun thing. It's one of the things that everybody knows about, even people who don't know that much about Wing Chun. And that is the circle punch. All right? I have many problems with the circle punch. All right, one of the problems I have with the circle punch is boom, I'm like this, right? Well, look what we talked about before here. My shoulder isn't covering my chin in case I fuck up, right? So a punch can very easily come over top, right? Let's compare that to a boxing punch. If I'm boxing and I go boom, look at where that shoulder is. It's perfectly covering my chin, all right? Let's do a Wing Chun punch. Boom. Look at that. No defense. Similarly, let's look at what the opposite hand is doing. All right? So, in a boxing punch, you already saw what's going on this side. Let's see what's going on this side, right? So, if I punch like this, look where this hand is. So they can't attack me from either side, all right? If they come in from here, boom, it hits the shoulder. If they come in from here, boom, it's my hand. Everything's guarded. Everything's fine. Let's look at what this hand is doing with the Wing Chun punch. All right? So, if I'm like this, in my Wing Chun stance, boom! It's right down by my chest. This is open too. all right? And the reason for that is because they want you to continuously boom, 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 one after the other. Each punch chambers the next. So defensively, you're leaving yourself very open. Now, let's cover another thing with the Wing Chun punch that I hate about it. The Wing Chun punch severely limits your range, all right? When you're like this, right, you go boom, look at how short my range is here, as opposed to, if I'm boxing, boom, I twist into it. My range is no longer just the length of my arm, all right? It extends outward a little bit, whereas here, boom, I can only punch the length of my arm. So if you are a very short and stout individual like myself, you already don't have a lot of range to play with. And you are only handicapping yourself even further. Now let's talk about another thing. Chi Sao and hand trapping. For those of you who don't know, that's what you see most Wing Chun guys doing when they call it sparring, all right? They either put the blindfolds on, or they don't, and their hands are touching, and they or if I had another person here with me, our wrists would be on top of each other, and we would be using our tactile sense to feel for openings. Like if they are too heavy on our wrists, we come over and boom. Or if they're too light, then we can just come through and boom. Or we can trap. We can do a lot of things, all right? In theory. And that's the thing I'm getting towards. Trapping and Chi Sao is totally a game, all right? And just like any game, if someone refuses to play it with you, then there essentially is no game. What I'm saying here is that people don't have to fucking Chi Sao with you, all right? This is totally a theoretical thing that is never shown any practicality in real fights ever. Because one of two things will happen. And again, I've seen it and I've experienced it. If someone tries to Chi Sao with you or hand trap, they will break away from you and create distance. Or, if they know how to grapple, if you try to Chi Sao with someone, they will slither in and take hooks on you, grapple you. Chi Sao is totally an optional distance when it comes to fighting. And most times, people just won't meet you there. Now, let's talk about the strategy of Wing Chun. The big thing. The big thing in Wing Chun is the center line theory. To always guard your center line and attack your opponent's center line. Well, this extends also in the way that they attack. Wing Chun does not believe in any non-linear attacks. So, in striking, there's two different types of attacks you can basically throw. Linear and round. So, a jab is an example of a linear strike. A hook is an example of a round strike, all right? And every strike falls into one of these two categories. Front kick, round kick, spinning hook kick. Knee is linear. Now, if you are an adept striker, you will want to mix in rounds and straights to confuse your opponent, throw them off balance. Wing Chun doesn't believe in this theory. They believe in only linearly attacking. So all the punches are straight. All the kicks are straight. And the reasoning that they have behind this is because the shortest distance from you to your target is a straight line. So the idea is that you will always beat out your opponent if you are attacking linearly. However, if you are only attacking linearly, A, that's not even true, that you will always hit first, and B, you are an extremely predictable fighter who will become easy to defeat. There are many examples of Wing Chun guys just charging forward at boxers and kickboxers, and what do? They step out of the way, they pivot, and then they'll either throw a hook or a round kick. Literally like a matador with a bull. Now, another reason why I don't like this idea of fighting is because not only does it make you extremely predictable, but, and this is the big one, this is the real big one, that I find super ironic, and I'll explain why in a second, is this is a style of fighting that only benefits the bigger fighter. If you are larger and you just charge forward, you will have the advantage. However, if you were smaller and to do that, boom, you'd be fucked. And once again, I speak of this being both the bigger and the smaller guy when sparring. Whenever I sparred somebody who was smaller than me, boom, I could just charge through them. But whenever I sparred someone who was bigger than me, boom, they would just charge through me. And that's not just my experience, that's everyone I've ever seen use this style and spar ever. And the reason I find this so ironic is because Wing Chun advertises itself as a style created by a woman and ergo can be used by smaller people to defeat a bigger attackers, when that could not be further from the truth because the entire thesis of the style is just to fucking bull rush forward at your opponent. Who benefits from that? Not the smaller person. And these are the main reasons off the top of my head why I don't like Wing Chun. Let me know what you guys think of Wing Chun, both in a positive and negative light, down in the comments, as well as what you think about what I have put forward. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? If you think I'm wrong, please tell me why. I am genuinely curious to know. I might cover more stuff in the future, but this was very impromptu, top of my head type stuff. But we'll see. Alright guys, I've been Patrick, and I'll see you next time.